Thank you very much. First, some words about Norway and Oslo. Our police district has a population of around 960,000, and the crime rates is, or if we can tell it, Norway is recognized as being generally very safe with a low levels of crime. It's a high focus on prevention, which is reflected both in legislation and official strategic documents. But there has been a concern of growing crime in recent years, with a particular focus on juvenile crime and increasing concerns concerning those below the age of criminal responsibility, 15 years in Norway. And based on this growing concern, a previous knowledge that most of youth crime is connected to a small number of repeat offenders, the chief of police in Oslo ordered a report describing repeat juvenile offenders, including how they were dealt with by the police. From the early 2000s and up until 2015, the reported juvenile crime rate was declining. We have already heard that today. And this is also following the same trends as other countries around the same time. 2015 represents a low point in Norway. And from 2015 until 2019, the crime rates increased again. Even with this increase, rates are still low compared to what we saw in the early 2000s. Rates of juvenile crime appears to have established and decreased slightly since 2023. But one important point, because most juveniles are never suspected of or charged with a crime, and for most of those who are, that is an isolated occurrence. A small number of juveniles registered repeatedly and for more serious crime. In fact, 97% of young people in Oslo have never been registered for any crime. Based on the observation that much of juvenile crime, and particularly the more serious offense, are committed by a small group of repeat offenders, the chief of police ordered a working group to be established, examining this group. The working group consisted of members with a background in investigation, specialized in juvenile crime and family violence, sexual violence, as well as members from the prosecution and crime prevention. The group did an in-depth analysis of 55 individuals who were registered with 10 or more offenses in 2023, before the age of 18. The analysis included all information available to the working group through police systems. So it did not include records from other public services unless such information was available to the police, for instance, as a part of an investigation. Repeat juvenile offenders in a broader context. The majority of those registered are boys, and in our sample there are only 2 girls. Many have an immigrant background and often with an experience from war or other traumatic experience. Around 32% of the crime they commit is violent crime. The overlap between juvenile crime and experience as a victim of crime is well known from both research and professional experience. 41 out of the 55 juveniles in our example are registered as the victim of at least one criminal offense. 39 of them are registered as the victim of a violent offense. The average age of the first-time registration as a victim was 10 years of age. 2 were under the age of 1 the first time they were registered. Some known risk factors. A significant proportion of those in our sample are registered as victims of family violence. Many have family members involved in crime. For many, there are several overlapping but ineffective attempts of support and treatment. Many have challenges related to mental health and/or drug addiction. And they are younger than average the first time they are registered with crime, 12 years old. Specific drivers of crime. In addition to some of the general risk factors, the drivers of crime can be quite specific to the individual's like circumstances. One example is youth in financial difficulties using crime as a way to earn money. For some, connection to crime through friends, siblings, or their local community serve as an important driver. There are also examples of crimes being linked primarily to opposition to the police, child supportive services, or similar. I call it a lack of protective factors, because the life stories of the youth is characterized by few protective factors, a lack of structure, and a lack of opportunities. A secure adult often appears as the strongest protective factor. For example, a teacher, a social worker, or similar. To the end, some key takeaways. This is a group of young people with overlapping vulnerabilities and need for a variety of social support services. Cooperation between services and information sharing is a key part of crime prevention work. There is a vacuum in Norway between the support available from child protective services on the one hand and prison, juvenile detention on the other. And protecting society at large and the fundamental rights of the child needs to be seen as one mission and not conflicting goals. That was it. Thank you.